Welcome to the Grand Shorts, a part of the Grand Podcast. The Grand. My name is Niels Tuller Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grand. The Grand is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. This is the third release of episodes under my short format, The Grand Shorts. And this is the second out of 2 episodes where I zoom in on my third job within this sector, Head of Funding in Offshoreenergy.dk, the official Danish energy innovation cluster, now Energy Cluster Denmark. In this episode, I elaborate on 4 core elements to be aware of when supporting SMEs towards funding from Brussels. 1. Understand your target group. 2. Learn how to translate the EU language. 3. Communication. And 4. Eliminating the distance. Several of the key points also apply to other stakeholder groups, so the episode gives inspiration to many organizations supporting stakeholders from Brussels towards funding. Please enjoy. The Grand. Welcome to The Grand, the EU funding podcast. This is the follow-up episode under the Grand Shorts, this third round of the Grand Shorts. And in this round, I'm only going to do release 2 short episodes because it's rough. It's rough timing. It's rough for an independent spare time podcaster to break down 3 episodes in a row like this. So you'll have to bear with me. You'll only have 2 this time. And as time moves on, when you get used to the short format, I will probably go into just releasing 1 short at a time, but then quality with a guest or something like this. But for now, I will try to do 2 at a time. We'll see how the short format will develop. This short episode is connected to my episode that you have just listened to about my time in the official Danish innovation cluster for energy. It was named Offshoreenergy.dk back then. The name of the cluster now is Energy Cluster Denmark. I was working there, and the core of my work in Brussels was to secure funding for the members of the organization, and that would mainly be industry. That would be the focus. So in this episode, I'm going to outline how I work with the companies, with the SMEs, and how I did that from Brussels. Of course, people who are sitting at the same geographical place as where their members are can also get something out of this, but I'm going to share a little bit about how it is to work from Brussels. So a lot of the organizations, associations, umbrella organizations, industry organizations in Brussels that also work with funding, you will get a lot out of this. Now, I'll try to keep this on 20 minutes, or 25 minutes, to keep it short, as is the concept here. So, first, engaging SMEs when you sit in Brussels. I have 4 blocks here, small blocks. Understand your target group, learn how to translate the EU language, communication, and then eliminate the distance. I've been puzzling a little bit about how to structure the blocks here, but that's more or less it. There might be other things. If I am reminding myself that there should be other important elements, I can make another short episode in the future. We'll see. Now, for now, we're going to stick with these 4 blocks, and I'm going to start with understanding your target group. So, obviously, when you sit in Brussels, you need to find funding for the group, for the SMEs. The core thing, of course, is to understand who are they and what do they want? So what is important for them? Where do they want to go with their company? And what is useful from their perspective? And what is a waste of time when it comes to funding? And this, when I was doing this, when I reached the cluster in my career, I had understood much better how to work with the target groups back in Denmark. Meaning that you don't just serve a lot of funding information. You don't just come and say, "Look, this is you need to do this, or you need to it's good for you because it will do this and this and this for you." I had learned that I had to turn the table around. I needed to understand their point of view. And as I mentioned when I was working in the Alliance, if you heard that short episode, I was doing a lot of fairs, going to a lot of industry fairs for the offshore wind industry. That taught me to talk to companies and understand them. And I used this also when I moved into the cluster naturally. And how do you do this? It's very simple. You talk to them. Yeah? You understand. You need to understand them. You need to understand what makes sense in their world. They're commercial companies. They have maybe developed the technology that they have been successful with over the last 2, 3, 10 years. And now they want to move on, or you are suggesting them asking them if it would make sense to further develop what they're doing. And you need to step into that room, so to say. You need to step into that understanding. So what is important for them? So, and then you simply start to break it down questions for them. So, do you want to develop? That's the first thing. Do they actually want funding? You don't press down things down their throat. And then if they say, yeah, maybe, and then you start to ask into how they are, what is the market they are looking into? Do they know how to move into being market leading, or do you know how to stay market leading with their product? Do they have the capacities themselves to further develop, or would it make sense to look into public funding to sort of take out the risk, the edge of the risk in doing this development activities? And these things, when you start to having this conversation with them, then you also start to understand them, because then they start to share with you what the market look like, what is the competitive situation, is it a global company that is dealing with competition from big globals in Asia and America, or is it a European or local company that is dealing with local competition? What is the technologies and problems with it in that sector? Is there something special elements where you need to reflect yourself, go home and reflect on what kind of funding possibilities would fit? Is it venture capital? Is it SME program? So is it the EIC program where they work themselves, maybe with one or two other partners? Is it other programs that suits better exactly the fit that they have? It's like this. You need to understand them. And then you need to understand the person, the action. So this is also human psychology. You need to understand the director or the development director. What do they want? What do they feel comfortable with? Yeah. How do they perceive the funding? You need this to understand how you curve the message, and what kind of message, what message do you want to give them, and how do you curve it to make them see that it might make sense. What I always did, or not always, but what I did when I started to understand these mechanisms that I've just explained, then I tried to say, look, if you know where you want to go, and if you know that this is something you need to do, then public funding can take off the risk. So it's going to be less of a risk for you. Focus on the risk element and the fact that they can realize something. You can also, if it fits what they do, if it fits for them to work with research or other industry or innovation clusters, whatever, say, look, you can work with some of the best organizations in Europe if you walk towards this culture, something you would never be able to collaborate with under normal circumstances. Suddenly, being here in that place can move you into a totally different place. But all this, it presupposes that there is an understanding and that you have understood where they want to go, what they feel comfortable with. This is vital, and you can do a lot. So one thing is that we'll get to that in a second, but to understanding the group, you can do many, many things. But of course, you need to dig into the sector, or if it's broadly SMEs, then you need to sort of understand the specific group that you are working with, the market that they're dealing with. You can do a lot of intelligence on this. Also, you can look into the European market. Has the EU developed on documents on this? Is a policy from the European Commission specifically on this that you can use as background information for yourself? I would, if I had it at the time back then, I would use the chatbots. I would use artificial intelligence to crunch information and giving me suggestions of how to work with it when I'm supposed to help a specific group. Yeah, I think that's it. Move into the next block, which I call Learn How to Translate EU Language. This is vital. Everybody that comes to Brussels, everybody that works from there, everybody that goes into the European or the Brussels bubble, as it's also called in a slang, so to say. There is a specific lingo. And I call it a parallel world. I put many sort of labels on it when I was working in Brussels. It's there is a specific. The Commission uses a specific language, and the institutions use a specific language, and the group of the organization, the whole ecosystem that is using specific language. A lot of it, if you present that kind of language and message to normal people, as I call it, to companies or to municipalities, whatever stakeholder you're working for, they're going to say, what's this? Don't understand. What is it saying? Is this, it's not even understandable English. What is it supposed to mean? When you are working with SMEs, so when you're working with companies, you need to do your homework and you need to prepare information, shorter, concise. And that information, shorter, concise information about the funding and what's possible, you need to first understand yourself, what the documents they say from that you need to translate, what the information, you need to process the information yourself, because you will go through a process yourself where you need to understand what it's saying. And that is one thing. So you can do, again, intelligence, dig, like if there's something you don't understand, use NCPs, for instance, whatever resources, use, see if there's any information in Google the information, find out what does the things what does it actually mean that the documents are talking about. And when you came so far, then put it down on paper, put it down in a Word doc, put it in and start to make the message short and concise, so so you can understand it. And a good exercise is that you can say, how would it be if you would stand in front of a person and explain it? Then you can put that down on paper. Because I was going to industry fairs and we're talking to companies all the time like this at their booths. Well, naturally there you learn to deliver the message short and concise, because you cannot stand and give all sorts of speeches forever. So that's that. This is important. Short message. You not just copy paste what the Commission puts. You need to process it and make it digestible for the group that you have. I think that's that, more or less. Again, if I had artificial intelligence and chatbots back then, I would have used it. I would have used it to process and see how can you use it. Can you make the language more digestible? Can you use this kind of approach when process the text? Yeah, so it's use the instruments at hand. No, and it's connected with the next block, communication. So your communication tools are vital. when you are engaging with SMEs, when you need to come forward with a message, and you need to reflect what works for them. Now we're focused on SMEs here. So what they are often. So what are SMEs actually? It's a pretty broad group, depending on sector and so on, because it's just a matter of how big they are in size. It's not a matter of what kind of area they're working. But the SMEs that I have been working with, they are they short on time. They are extremely focused on what the time they spend. How do they spend the time? There's always something happening in the company that they need to attend to. The people you talk to, they would be having 10,000 things in their head. So from that point of view, what works? What kind of communication tool works? Websites, newsletter. You need to call them. Is it canvassing that works to talk to keep a thread in them? Is it SME? What kind of group is? So you need to, and these are open questions, yeah. Because I've been working with the offshore renewable sector, meaning primarily wind industry, the wave energy sector, two very different groups where I try to have the same approach to save time. But of course, wave energy, small group, very small community. There you have something, and then the larger group of industry of wind energy, I could do something else. Website would work better, or newsletter. There would be more people there to digest the newsletter. Where I would be more one-to-one phoning with the wave sector. But SoMe has developed a lot since I sat and did this. So naturally, reaching out to companies, has a lot of it has also moved that way. But again, you need to understand your specific group and what fits with them. So you need to do the intelligence, and then I would say ask them what channels they use to get new information. Ask them where they would prefer to get something from you on updating them on possible funding, updating them on what's going on, and how often it should be, and so on and so forth. These things, there's a lot to say about communication because it's vital in your work from Brussels. You need to be there you need to think about it all the time. How do we come across with the message? How do we deal with this? And it's connected to the last block. It's difficult to take them all apart, but I made it give it its own block because it is important when you sit in Brussels. Eliminating the distance. Now, I've been having also episodes before. There's been a full short episode on how we dealt with the distance, but here is when you're working with companies and SMEs, they like you to come by. Yeah, they often, if you call, it's they're short on time. They're difficult to get a hold on. I traveled a lot. It depends on the budget you have in your organization, but we had the budget for it. I traveled. I met them. I made visiting rounds where I would spend 3-4 days in Denmark, and I would drive around in the areas where the companies would be. Would of course have had pre-arranged everything naturally, making the meeting plans and so on. But the idea of going and visiting, that's what I'm talking about here. That does something, and first of all, it's going to do something for you. You understand much better what kind of stakeholders you're working for, what kind of companies they are when you've been into their production sites, when you've seen what they're doing, when you see what kind of practical maybe challenges they have with the production that they are doing, and they can explain you then on site and see, can you see here we have this process where this robot is doing this, but we know that if we do it in this and this way, then we can raise efficiency, or we can actually make the product much better, which means that can move us forward. And then you have seen it with your own eyes, which makes it much easier for you when you need to to try to find funding for them, because the funding schemes, they are mirrors of reality. So they have been made with input from industry, from research, and so on, what's needed. So it's much easier for you also to read the text as you move on. It's not just one company I'm talking about. When you talk to many companies, many researchers, if it's that just one, then it's much easier for you if you've seen what they do in all practicality and read and understand the practical problems that they need to deal, and the practical problems that the funding schemes are addressing, and then it's easier for you as a facilitator to say, Mads, doesn't fit here, fits there. How can you do this, sort of eliminating the distance other? So there's a travel. Then there's you can establish core group of people. I try to pinpoint people that was important for me, or companies where there was something there with this guy or this lady where it gave a little spark in their eyes when we talked about this, so I could understand that I could work with them. I also need success stories, right? So create a group of people of the ones that you see here something can happen. I can have some success also for yourself, KPIs, for what you're working for. Of course, there needs to be some a motor in that, and this can help you with this to if you group. Can make your own little Excel sheet there of the most important ones, whatever, how you want to work with these things. But that's important. Also because, also for you, it's psychology. Sitting in Brussels, you might be a small office to have the outgoing element of the feeling the vibration of the sector or the company group the SME group that you're working with in a geographical area, municipality or region and so on, to see what's going on. It's just that is just important. And that group of people reach out, establish a rhythm of reaching out. Often I would simply, if I had 5 minutes or an hour or something like this, where I had a little bit of break in my tasks at my desk in Brussels, then I would simply just call, "Hey, John, how are you doing?" Or, "Hey, Linda, how's it going with should we talk sooner?" Just having a chat. It's also a matter, yeah, because you are the go-to person in Brussels, and you try to sell them something that they have not asked for yet. So you need to establish a good chemistry also and keep it up, where they say, might be something about that Andrea here she's talking about, or that Peter here keeps calling once in a while, and it seems like there's a message in what he's trying to say. These things, over time it makes a difference. Indeed, it does. No, I think that's it for now. I think that's concluding my the grad short episode on how to engage, or tips and tricks how to engage SMEs from Brussels. So thanks for listening to the short episode. I hope it gave you inspiration. That's the point. Keep listening. Next week will be a long format. Check out my website. As always, there you will find lots of shorts. Not so many short episodes yet, but it starts to build up. But of course, lots of the long format episodes. So check it out. Should be something for you if you have been interested in this one. And subscribe to my email list. It's going to help me as a podcaster. And finally, connect with me on LinkedIn. Niels Tudor Winther, and go in and follow the grant page on LinkedIn also. If you do that, you'll get a full flow of information. This is where I like stuff and share stuff and so on EU funding. So let's shut this episode down for now. Bye. That was the second and last episode on my third job within this sector. Check out the grant for more short episodes and more than 100 long format episodes about EU R&D funding. While you're there, please do subscribe to my email list. You'll find the subscription form at the bottom of each page. And Finally, connect with me on LinkedIn and follow my The Grant page to get into the stream of podcast content coming out every Monday. Bye.
The Grant.